Hello, with the County Watchdog. I'm John Pratt.
I'm Kirk Allen.
And we're here to talk about the Ford-Iroquois Public Health Department again.
Again.
Yeah. Well, before we get started, let's hear from Carrie Hagan and her thoughts on the data backups for the health department computers.
Isn't there a service you're paying for that backs up that computer system? Anybody?
Carrie, do we pay for a system that backs it up?
Yep.
You do? Wow. All you have to do is contact that entity and say you need the backup from whatever date it was backed up. I believe it's backed up at midnight every day.
How do you know?
Ma'am, I'm good at what I do.
Oh, you're a lot good.
You
Well, that was quite an interesting public session and some comments from Miss Hagan. How often do they back up?
Every night.
At what time?
Midnight.
How'd you know that? She's more worried about how we knew that they have backups.
That's right.
But what she doesn't understand, she lied to the board, blaming everything on Doug Corbett. We don't have any of the old policies, or we don't have the backups, or just one excuse after another. But she was pretty quiet after we exposed the fact they're paying our tax dollars to have a company actually back that data up on a daily basis.
You know what? I wonder if he felt that bus running over him.
They threw him under the bus pretty much all night through that meeting.
Yes, they did.
They said Doug was pretty much to blame for everything that was going on now. Not quite what they said about 3 months ago, though, was it?
No, it wasn't.
No, Doug was a saint. Well, how about Julie Clark's comments? How about if we'll take a quick gander at those, and we'll come back after that video.
For HIPAA, we did have a breach that was discovered on July 12, 2013 on the Edgar County Watchdog site. 11 clients were affected by the breach, which was 9 families. It was filed under the unauthorized access disclosure category. We had clients' names, community they lived in, and health department program they were enrolled in were disclosed. The origin of the breach, a security investigation, incident investigation was conducted by me, the HIPAA officer, and it was discovered that Doug Corbett, Public Health Administrator, sent an unredacted copy of the audit report from the East Central Illinois Area Agency on Aging to Rick Bowen, the Ford County Board Chairman. Page 3 of the report contained client information that should have been redacted prior to sending it to Mr. Bowen. I confirmed with Rick Bowen that he received the FOIA request from the Edgar County Watchdogs regarding emails received from or sent to Mr. Corbett, and Mr. Bowen sent on the unredacted report to the Watchdogs. For mitigation, a letter was sent to all of the clients whose information was breached via certified mail. All receipts have been returned to me confirming receipt. I completed and submitted the notice to the Secretary of the Health and Human Services of the breach of unsecured protected health information and have confirmation that the report was filed. The Area Agency on Aging sent a letter to the Edgar County Watchdogs asking them to remove the names of the clients.
Well, Julie Clark. She's that gal that lives, 225 miles away, works out of her home, drawing a nice big $50,000+ salary. And she's, what's her job? What's her duties?
Well, let's see. Community Health Planner, Public Information Officer, FOIA Officer, OMA Officer, HIPAA Officer, Quality Advisor, Tobacco Coordinator, and Section 504 Coordinator.
Did you say HIPAA Officer?
Yeah, and I said 504 Coordinator too. She needs to help her sister out, I think.
What's that 504 program for?
Education, disability education, I believe.
Yeah, now her sister's the one that got that felony conviction for stealing money from the bank, and they said it was a mental disorder.
Yeah.
Well, what would you call it? Her comments on her HIPAA investigation, would that be a mental disorder?
It's something, because it sure isn't true.
Now, not even close to being true.
Well, let's hear our responses to that, to her comments on the HIPAA investigation.
I'm going to start with the HIPAA violation issue that apparently there's been a formal investigation, and being a medic, I understand the importance of HIPAA violations. They do have legalities and potential lawsuit ramifications. I'd like to see a copy, and I will formally FOIA that, but I'd like to see a copy of this full investigation because the Edgar County watchdogs didn't FOIA that information from Ford County. So whoever told you that information gave you misinformation. That did not come from any FOIA that we ever submitted to Ford County. So I'd like to know who told you that, because that is inaccurate information and it is an unbelievably lack of ability of investigating a HEPA violation. You should have documents to support everything you said. Doug told you that.
That he sent it to Rick
Okay.
Bowen. I
My
can
point being,
verify that.
with an investigation, I live by a philosophy of says who with what proof. Someone tells me something, I want documents to back it up. What you've been told is a lie.
I have the document.
You have a FOIA request that we gave Ford County?
No, I have the documents that Doug told me, and I called Rick Bowen and talked to the area.
And that's what, if someone has informed you that Ford County received a FOIA and that's how this got leaked out, I'd like to see that FOIA because that didn't come from that environment.
So
It
at the
came
next
from
meeting,
I did
completely,
get a FOIA for it.
so at the next meeting, what you will provide us with is, since he disagrees with what you said, you will provide us with the documentation that shows that Edgar County FOIA'd Ford County for those documents.
I have the whole file right here.
That shows Edgar County FOIA'd that information. Bring it forward.
I don't know that it says, I called Rick Bowen and he told me he was FOIA.
yeah, and that's,
But you said it was Edgar County.
yeah, he may have been FOIA, but it
No,
wasn't.
he told me, Rick Bowen told me he got it FOIA from Edgar County Watchdog.
Okay, well, we need proof of that, because they're disputing that. They say it didn't happen, so we need the proof of that.
Okay, all right, I'll have Rick Bowen.
And we,
I don't have his FOIA because.
Okay, well, I'm just saying we need to get it for the next meeting.
I didn't
So we
FOIA
can
that.
answer the question.
All right.
and
It came from another individual that was provided to us from an independent third party. We didn't FOIA that information.
and we didn't get a letter from anybody telling us to take
remove
the document
anything.
off the
I
website
have a
either.
copy of the letter also.
We've never
Yeah.
received any such letter. If we did, not only would we have redacted that information, we would have posted the letter of the agency that provided it. We've
It was
never been
dated
given,
August 6th.
we've never been given a copy, ever. So I want to clarify that from a HIPAA violation standpoint because the investigation has not been thorough. Not in any way, shape, or form. One of the other,
Well, you heard our comments, and believe me, if we received a letter from an organization asking us to take some names off of there that shouldn't have been on our website, we would have taken them off, and we would have put that organization's letter on there. So,
Now, we would have posted that straight away, but that part where she said we're the ones that violated the HIPAA, you know, the HIPAA breach was from the Edgar County watchdogs.
yeah.
No, it was from Doug Corbett, that guy that, you know, got hit by the bus during the other parts of the meeting. Yeah, he was the one that breached the HIPAA violation, and he's the one that ought to be held responsible.
That's right.
What else you got there, John?
Conflict of interest policy.
Do they have one?
Well, Mr. Boyer and his diligent, no, that's procurement. No, they tried to say they didn't have one, but they do have one. And I've got a copy of it right here.
Yep. Been revised how often, or reviewed?
Every year since 2009.
Wow. Well, you have a conflict of interest reviewed in October '99, all the way up until Corbett's tenure. Conflict of interest. To ensure that all matters of ownership interest, direct or indirect, which might reasonably result in a conflict of interest are disclosed to the public. You hear that, Julie Clark? Part of the procedures, follow directions as detailed in the Public Act. She's claiming in this policy where it outlines administrative management team are required to sign an annual disclosure. She's saying she's not part of a management team, so she's not required to do this.
Well, I've got the Public Act right here.
You mean the one that they said they're supposed to follow?
Yeah, you know.
What's it say in that one?
Let's see. Persons who are employed by a unit of local government are compensated for services as employees and not independent contractors, and who are or function as the head of the department, division, bureau, authority, or other administrative unit within the local government.
So she does have to fill one out. She's in charge of what programs?
or who exercise similar authority with any unit of local government.
Yeah, it's part of state law. Now she knew that at her place of, she's on some zoning board or something downstate. She filled one out there, but she doesn't fill one out in Iroquois County.
Yeah.
That was interesting because the conflict of interest, it put that $100,000+ contract in her pocket. Of course she doesn't know anything about that.
Yeah, of course not.
And I guess we'll go on to procurement. What do we find on the procurement?
Well, that's back to Mr. Boyer. He apparently spent long, diligent efforts to try to find a statute dealing with procurements, and he couldn't find one.
There, I've got the quote here. I've been working diligently attempting to find any statute that requires competitive bidding for public health purchases. I cannot find any and do not believe at this point that you have such a requirement. Nevertheless, now this is a response for Mr. Brumlevy's FOIA request, and Boyer advises his client, nevertheless, do not say that. Rather, respond to the FOIA request by saying you have no regulations or other material regarding purchases and contracts.
So he told them to lie,
Yes, he told him to lie.
because they did have internal regulations and policies, which will be other materials.
You betcha. The procurement procedures. If the estimated cost of the purchase is in excess of $3,000, the public health administrator will solicit sealed bids by public advertisement in at least 2 local newspapers. And that policy is reviewed,
Annually, every November.
yep, since October of '99.
It was revised in '03, so they changed something on it in '03.
Yep. Wow. Part of that policy, listen up, Julie. No officer, employee, or his partner, immediate family, or agent of this agency will participate in the selection, awarding, or administration of a contract if a conflict of interest, real or apparent, would be involved. Would there be an apparent conflict of interest with her getting that award?
Yes.
They didn't put it out for bid. They gave it to an employee, violated their own procurement policy, and their attorney said that they couldn't find anything that, says they don't have to do that. Well, his diligent work, I spent 3 minutes, did an internet search on the Illinois state statutes under the county code, typed in the word bid. All you have to do is hit the entire code and it'll pull up everywhere where the word bid is in there. 55 ILCS 5/5-1022, competitive bids. Any purchase by a county with fewer than 2 million inhabitants of services, materials, equipment, or supplies in excess of 30 grand other than professional services shall be contracted for in one of the following ways. And then it outlines putting it out for bid. So was a solar panel over 30 grand?
Well, it depends on how you look at it. They can divide it up 5 different contracts. But no, it was one contract for well over 100,000.
In direct violation of the county code. And this was a state's attorney who couldn't find the statute for this.
A former state's attorney.
Yeah, former state's attorney for Iroquois County who deals with county code throughout his tenure, who now is illegally hired. Let's see, who hired him? Oh, that was Dr. Ray made the motion to hire a private attorney contrary to state statute.
Yeah. So is that the one that likes texting?
Yeah, that's the one that was texting during the executive session.
Yeah.
That'll be interesting to see what those texts had to say.
Well, I guess that's it for the day.
Well, that's all I got. We'll see you next time.
You have to, I'll withdraw that.